Hey guys, welcome back. It's Friday and we've got all day to work on the van, which is pretty awesome. So I'm going to start, we're going to basically get all these pieces cut. I got all the reliefs made in the cross member there, so the engine will fit in there, hopefully. So basically I'm building all my re-supports to box everything back in. 3/16 plate steel, cardboard obviously for basic design layout, and then tacking everything together. And then we're going to put the motor back in again. So I did put the motor in and out off camera. So if you're keeping track of how many times I put this motor in and out, add one to your list, because it's going to be a lot. So yeah, we're just cutting and fabbing today, all day. So this is all tacked in over here for the most part. Let me show you up here. I'm not sure what's going on here yet. This is where an AC line has to come through here, like into the compressor. So it's boxed in, and then once I put the motor back in, then I get an idea. I don't remember what I'm doing there basically. So we're gonna finish that there. This here is the oil filter. It is way in the way. It's just, comes down like this. So I have decided to basically a piece of 3-inch pipe. I'm going to lay that in there. That way it kind of follows the contour. We'll box it in. Now this bracket here, this is where I was thinking about putting a remote oil filter on it, but they're actually pretty expensive. So this bracket here is for the right side. So this is a twin I-beam suspension type thing. So that's for the right side suspension where it bolts on at. So it was bolted on here and riveted up here. Obviously I had to remove all that. So the plan is I'm put this in, and then after all said and done, then I'm going to go underneath and I'm going to burn this bracket back to this piece, and then burn this end of the bracket to this insert here, which is right here. So, and then after that we'll get it all cleaned up. So again, we're just tacking stuff in though. Well, we got everything tacked in good enough anyways. So it's time to put the motor back in again, but there is a section of this AC compressor that I just don't think is necessary, just added weight, and well, technically it's in my way, so we're going to remove it. Okay, so we got the motor in and checked everything, and for the most part it was decent. I still had to make some tweaks over here, so we pulled the motor back out again. I don't know, that's like, I don't know how many times that is now. Made some adjustments to this. I dropped this down like another 1/4 inch here. It was clearing the oil filter, but it was a little tighter still. I mean, you still got to have some room for movement, right? And then the alternator one need to go back like another 1/4 inch. And this isn't really to clear the alternator here. This is if I need to remove the alternator, because the way it works in that Coyote is you pull the bolt out of the bottom, and then the alternator swings down and then slides off, and there's not enough room to swing. So that's just basically an access panel, I suppose you could say. Anyways, this over here, with the AC compressor and the lines and everything. It just wasn't working. Up in this area here, there was just too much going on. It was too tight to try to get the motor in and set down, so I just took it all back out and started over. I just took this thing all the way to the frame rail, and we're going to box it back in. I did get this bracket put back in here. This is for the other I-beam for the driver's side. We're going to plate this all back in. Then I'm going to go underneath. I'm going to burn all that in from underneath, basically burn this plate to this top plate, and then that'll be 100% secure then. So this is what I come up with for the most part, and again, everything's just tacked together. How did that go? Not that way. So basically this is going to drop in here like so. So yeah, but before I do that, I'm going to take it out, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to weld all this stuff from the back side so it's already done. The less welding I'm going to have to do laying on the floor, the happier I will be. So, and then we'll go underneath and weld that support in, and then I got to weld these brackets underneath here, and everything should be good from there. So let's get burning some, burn the back side here. Okay, we got the back sides of everything ready to go in there. Cleaned up a few things on the chassis while that was out, and now we're just going to, I suppose, tack it in and get it where I want it. And then from there, it's going to be permanent. Still a little warm. There we go. Whew. A little too warm for the fingers yet. Well, we got her all burned in. I'm pretty happy with everything so far. Got everything ground down good enough anyways. You're not going to see any of this once this motor's in there, but I still like it to look good beforehand. Obviously, it's all going to get painted and everything else, but for the most part, we were able to get underneath, burn those brackets in for the suspension. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. I envisioned lighting myself on fire at least once, and I didn't. It was pretty good. So, next thing, motor, going back in again. So I'm going to grab the motor mounts. We're going to bolt the motor mounts on, just so they're in there, and then I get it in. Next thing we need to do is obviously build motor mounts. The motor mounts that I ordered are for a Coyote swap for a Fox body Mustang. They're pretty straightforward and simple. I think they'll be a good base to start with. Obviously, I got to build the rest of the bracketry to get it to the frame. But before I can do that, I need to clearance the passenger side frame rail. I don't know if you can see this black line right here, but there's one pipe for the header that needs to get recessed into the frame like 3/4 of an inch, like just a section. But I don't know exactly where it needs to be. So I want to put the motor back in with the motor mounts on it so I can see basically what I have for interference. And then we're going to start marking. We'll set it all up, block it the way I want it, and then just start looking at what it's going to take to clearance that header, build the motor mounts. The driver's side header is going to take some modification of the header. I'm not ready to do that just yet. So but those bolts are not going in very nice. So oh, I know why. So when somebody put the headers in this thing, they must have unbolted the stock motor mount and lifted the motor up to get the header in. That bolt was not tight and or straight, I suppose you could say, and I just remembered that. So I need to run a tap through that is what I need to do and clean the threads up. Not that one. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, those are going to work good. Well, there it is, sitting by yourself. Granted, it's sitting on blocks of wood, but it's at least sitting in there. The engine hoist is now out of my way, and we can do some more configuring. So we got plenty of room here. I'm still going to trim this aluminum tab off of this oil filter piece here. Alternator, plenty of clearance, so if I have to, you know, on the side of the road, I can swing that alternator down and pull it off. I have to replace it. AC compressor should be about the same thing. I can access all the bolts. Basically, the bolts will come down, and then they'll come out with the compressor. Worst case, the compressor is on its own belt. So if this failed on the side of the road, I can just cut the belt and still get on down the road, right? So yeah, it's in there for now. We'll get, that's enough for today. It's almost midnight here on Friday night, so I'm done. We'll get back to it, and next thing will be headers and motor mounts. So see you next. Well, alrighty then. We are on to headers. We've got everything else clearing. Oh, that's a little noisy, I know. So this passenger side header actually is not terrible, except for, I don't remember which one it is. That right there. So this pipe, so basically this pipe right here, where this little V comes out at, is hitting the frame right here. Now I can get the header up in there if I move the motor over about 3/4 of an inch. So it's going to sit something like that right there. So I think what we're going to do is, with the motor still in there, I put the header on the best I could and made some marks where the center of that point is right here and kind of guessed, yeah, for the most part. What I want to do is we're going to open this up. We're just going to take that section out, and I think we're going to take this piece of pipe. It's a half a piece of 3-inch pipe, and basically lay that in the frame. At the end of the day, I need this point right here to go in 3/4 of an inch, and then it kind of varies from there. So we're going to cut that out. We're going to set that in, put a couple tacks on it to hold it in place, and then put the motor back in again for like the 19th time, and basically see if I can slide that header into that frame and get enough clearance so it has some movement. I think it will. It'll be fine. So we're going to cut it up. Let's do that. Alright guys, motor's back in again. I don't know how many times that is, but It actually worked out really good. I mean, you can't really see a whole lot from up here, I guess, but the one pipe is now laid back into the frame. Let's go underneath, see if we can see better from under there. Well, it's kind of tight under here, I know, and that's why I haven't done a lot of filming under here, but basically now you can see how that one pipe is recessed into the frame. And I do have a few spots I can clearance a little more, that I'm going to clearance a little more once the motor is back out. But while the motor's in and the header is in place and the motor's sitting exactly where I want it, I think we're going to start working on some motor mounts, at least on the passenger side here. So I think I'm just going to make a plate about the size of this motor mount here. Probably bring a plate from here down to the original holes where the original motor mount bolted on at. I already have this piece from the original mount back on the frame, so I'm going to tie into the frame rail and to the cross member, throw some gussets in there, and I think it'll be okay. So I'm going to start fabbing that up and see how far we can get yet tonight. So this is my design, I guess, here. Basically just two plates. I put the oblong holes in it, so basically as that stud comes in at that angle, it can drop down in that hole nicely. I'm going to get this bolted in, and we will create another piece. Alright, so there's our motor mount plate. My next piece of cardboard aided design here is this piece here. So it's going to bolt onto the frame here, and then obviously we'll tack it together there. So I'm going to go get this cut out of steel and bolt it in, and then we will throw a couple tacks and get that into place. Okay, we got that piece cut, and we are going to get it tacked in here, and then we'll move on to the next piece. So that's fitting pretty good. Now I think I cut this, man, it's tough to work under here, I tell you. So now we just got to gusset. I'm going to throw in here to box this off, I think. Yeah, that looks good. Well guys, it's a new day in the shop. So last night, finished up that motor mount. I can't really show you anything under there. It's pitch black. It's just tacked together. When I get this motor back out, we'll go through all the fine details. So today we are going to move on to the driver's side header, where I thought I had plenty of room to make that header work in there. Turns out I don't. So let me show you what our first problem is. Floor of the truck. Foot right here. Stepping on the gas pedal. Driver's side header. Right there. Floor of the truck. Not floor of the truck. This is where your heel would be. That's going to get a little warm, I think. So that's our first problem. So these are a set of long tube pipes headers that came in the 13 Mustang GT. So they're free, right? And because they're in a Mustang, this one pipe comes up and over. I need it to go, well, I need to go not up and over. How's that sound? So the only thing I can come up with is to either start scavenging and trying to find a new set of headers, or just take this $1,400 set of headers and cut it up, which I think is what we're going to do. If I cut it at the flange here and cut it at this factory seam here, and basically take this top pipe, turn it around, and instead of it coming above the mounting flange, have it come down this way here. I've got plenty of room between there and the frame. It's the engine and the floor that I don't have the room. So basically I'm going to take this pipe, cut it, move it down here. It's the only thing I can come up with. So that's what we're doing. Right or wrong, that's what we're doing. Does anybody know if you can cut stainless with a Sawzall? Because I really don't know. I don't know if I ever tried cutting stainless with a Sawzall. Well, it definitely didn't like it, I'll tell you that. But so yeah, start doing that. I'm thinking it's actually really freaking close to fitting right back on there. Holy crap. That might just work. Alright. need to get this thing put in, see if it works. Okay, so it's not all the answer, but it's some of it. Let me show you what we're doing. So originally we had this situation going on here, and it was hitting all across here. So that's now eliminated, but it's still hitting right here. So this needs to come down like here. But I don't know how to get there with what we have. I don't think we're going to get there with what we have. I think we're going to have to start with all new material for the most part. Turn a 90, like right here, come up and do it. Okay, well, I'll have to figure that out. That will at least give me a game plan as far as what we're going to do. Now I know which way we're going to go. I don't know who's going to make it go that way. I'll find somebody though. But now we can move on to the motor mount, because basically I need to get that header in so I can see, I can work the motor mount around the header. And it turns out the header is not even close to being in the way of the motor mount. So I am free and clear to build a mount and continue on. So I'm going to set this part aside, make some phone calls, and get on to motor mount. So hang tight while I figure out what I'm doing. So I put that header back in the truck, and looking at my motor mount setup here, so this is what I started with on the passenger side. And this is the factory motor mount bracket that was in the van, and honestly it's really not that far off. The stud is actually right here. I mean, it's in line with it, but it's probably about 1.5 inches above it and at a different angle. So instead of just going down flat, it's kind of sitting like at an angle like this. So it's not going to totally work, but I'm thinking, why reinvent the wheel and recreate all this when all this actually works except for right here. And it's a little long. So this is set up for dual motors, because this van you could get with a 302, a 351, or the 460. So different mounts for different motors. So I don't need anything from here down. And if I cut this off down here, get rid of all this, that leaves me the access to drop the oil pan right out of the motor if I need to someday, if I blow it up. Gives me access to that. So I think we're going to cut this off, take this center section out and just eliminate it, and then we'll bolt this to the new motor, bolt this back in the van, and basically just fill the gap. Box it onto this, then it all just bolts back in. I think that's going to be fast. So let's chop some stuff up. Alright, so we modified that factory steel bracket right there. So now you can see my plate on the new motor mount. So, I mean, really all we gotta do is just fill in that gap from the top to the bottom, and then I need to clearance the corners a little bit for the header, and weld it together and clean it up and make it look like something. So I'm gonna grab my handy dandy cardboard, my pair of scissors. I'm gonna start cutting out basically what I need, 4 pieces, I think, maybe 5. And then we'll just tack it together, and then from that point, again, just going to tack it together underneath there, leave it in place, and then we'll get that done. I'll show you where we're at, and then we'll move on to the cross member. All right, it is Friday afternoon, and we are back on the van again. So last night we finished up, I mean, not finished, of course, but we got that motor mount tied in on the driver's side. Good enough anyways. Like I said, once the motor's out, then we can get in there. I can pull those motor mount plates out, put them up on the bench, and we can finish weld them, make them look pretty, kind of. Anyways, today is transmission cross member day. So let me show you what I'm thinking here. All right, so under the old van here, this is the factory transmission mount for the 13 Mustang GT, and it's in good shape, so I figured we might as well reuse it. So I basically just made a plate, bolt onto the bottom of that, and as far as how to tie it to the frame, I've been back and forth between square tubing, rectangular tubing, and I've settled on round tubing. So I went through my hoard of steel in the back room there, and I found this piece of pipe. It's about 5 foot long, inch and 3/4, actually inch and 5/8 outside diameter. It's pretty thick wall, so should work good. And this is my template. So this here is basically representing the center line of that transmission bracket that I just built and put on the transmission. And then this is representing the center line of where I want this tube to tie to the frame rail at. So basically I need to get it bent up this way to this and over that way. So that's what we're going to work on next. I've got the handy dandy affordablebender.com bender here. I got the inch and 5/8 die inside of it, so we are going to start figuring out how to get this bent the way I want it. It could be interesting. I am not a master of tube bending. Could be some cursing going on, so let's see if I can figure this out and not screw it up. Okay, just like everything, we gotta start somewhere, so we're gonna make some, I got the center line of the pipe marked for the most part, and I'm gonna set the die up on that, and then that'll kind of give me an idea how far it's gonna go back. Okay, that was the easy part, I believe. Now we need to figure out how to get this bend in the correct place. Good thing is I don't have to be right on the nuts. I'm going in the frame. I've got an inch or two above it, 3 inches below it. I can miss, but I don't want to. All right, well, trying to figure this out, and I am not a master pipe bender, so I'm cheating. Took a piece of 12 gauge house wire here, and I know where I started each bend at, because I marked that. And I know where my center is, so basically bent this to follow that curve so I know where it started at. So by transferring that and kind of eyeballing it to the center line, and then basically just marked it and transferred it over to this side. If I put it back in there the correct way and bend it 45 degrees, it should lay out close enough to that line. So I don't know, there's only one way to find out, and that's do it, right? Seems to be the theme of this whole build. Just do it. Is that right? I think that's right. So basically bring that back up to 0, right? We're at about 46 right now. It's gonna be kind of awkward. I'm going the other side. I think it worked. Let's try the other side. Do it again. All right, let's see how we did. Oh, I lost my center line mark, so, oh, there it is. It's pretty awesome, I think. So now I'm going to cut it to a rough length and slide up underneath there, see what it looks like. And then I gotta make some brackets for the end to attach that to the frame. I want something that gives me some adjustability so I can adjust the rear of the transmission up and down in case I need to like change my drive shaft angle or something. I created basically these little C-channel brackets. We're gonna burn these onto the frame. Left slots in the side, so there it is. Adjust it up and down, right? So we're going to put on the old welding jacket here and slide back underneath the van. Get these things in place and tacked in. I think I'm just gonna weld them on permanently. I don't think I'm gonna bolt them on. They shouldn't need to move. Once I get them set, they should be good. So get them burned on, and then from there we can set this piece in. And I got that steel bracket underneath there, still bolted to the transmission, so basically butt it up. I'll tack that, and then pull it all out, burn it together, and that should complete the cross member for the most part. Well, alrighty then. So we got the brackets put in the chassis. Got our support bracket put on here. I did add a little bit of gusset right here. Closed up the ends. And that's 3/16 plate, so it shouldn't crush when we throw a bolt in it. So I guess let's put it underneath the van and see if it fits now. Oh, look at that. Put the nuts on and see how it does. Okay, cross member is good enough. I think we're done with that section. Obviously the motor's back out and we are back to the motor mounts. Now you can kind of see what I've been working on underneath of here. And again, it's just pieced together right now. I'm going to do a lot of cleaning up once it's on the workbench. And you can see this mess I got going on back here in the frame rail for that header. Again, now that everything's out and fit, so I'm going to spend the next few hours. I'm going to pull these motor mounts out, put them up on the bench so I can work on them. And then basically today and tomorrow, finish the motor mounts, finish that exhaust header, finish the doghouse, get that tied back together by the end of Sunday. That's the plan. So back to work Monday type thing. But anyways, I'll get this blown apart. We'll get them up on the bench and get burning some metal. Still need to figure out something to do in this corner right here, because this is the header is like really not real close to it, but close enough where I don't want it squared off. So I'm gonna round that off one way or another. Well, we're back again. It's a new day. It's Monday. It's actually not even a day. It's Monday night, like 9:30. I've been working on this little Rogue all today, and I want to get a couple hours in here on the van. So where we left off at was motor mounts, which are done. Actually, I had to finish a weld on this one that I forgot, but motor mounts done. That one's done. Welded up, ready to go. We got a relief done in the frame for that header. It's all ready to go. We did get the metal work done in here, good enough anyways. Kind of hard to make something out of that, but it's at least sealed up. Little primer, little seam sealer. You'll never know I was in there. And tonight we are on to throttle pedal. And it's not as simple as I thought it was going to be, but it's not as bad as it could be. So I don't know, I'm going to take that for a win. Let me show you what I'm attempting to do here. So we're obviously we have to put in the stock pedal out of the 13 Mustang, because that's a drive-by-wire, which is right here. This is our lovely throttle pedal. I did have to do some modifications to these ears, but it was just all plastic, so we just cut it off. But anyways, underneath here we don't have much room, obviously, so I'm going to try to show you. Okay, so imagine, if you will, you see that little black X right there? That is the top left bolt for the throttle pedal. But that bracket and those bolts right there, obviously, that you see are for the brake booster. Well, the problem with that is you can't get behind that brake booster. I mean, where those bolts are, that's tight against the firewall, so I cannot run a bolt through this way like I was hoping. So what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to weld a 1/4" bolt onto that bracket, which will give me that top left mounting point. The other two I should be able to literally just drill through the firewall here and put a bolt in. This is thick metal. This is 77. This isn't this new crap, so there's plenty of girth there to hold this throttle pedal. Things first, we should probably get the carpet out of the way. Or the rug. I don't know what you call it. Carpet? Rug? This is gonna get stupid real quick. And a light. How can I get two hands in there? Oh man. This is gonna get hot quick, isn't it? Oh, come on. Really? No ground? Come on. Wow, look at that. Instant fire. Oh, come on. The struggle is real. Hey, got the first frickin' try. Look at that. So what I'm doing here is we got these 3 ears that like little standoffs in the back of the throttle, and this is the one that we welded the bolt onto that bracket. So obviously we got the bolt head, the thickness of it. So I'm grinding that down narrower to accommodate for that bolt, because I need to kick the pedal this way if I can. A little, you know, if I roll it this way, it moves the throttle away from that doghouse. Any extra space I can get is going to be a bonus, because that's going to be tight for your foot. But it is what it is. Still going to be cool. See how it feels on your foot. Oh, that's plenty of room. I need to stop stepping on that brake pedal though. There's a hole in the brake line, remember? I hit it with the welder and put a hole in it. So every time I step on the brake, I'm spraying brake fluid all over the front of the van. Not the front of the van, the engine compartment. Oh, that's perfect. Not perfect, but it's gonna work good. Enough shag underneath there that it doesn't really bottom out all the way. It'll be fine, right? It's just an old van. Anyways, well guys, I think that's gonna wrap up this week. Next week we'll throw the motor back in it, bolt it all in the way it's supposed to be with the new mounts, the new cross member, make sure everything's good. Headers will be on it, except for the left one. I need to figure out what I'm going to do with that yet, but headers will be on, make sure everything's clearanced. Then we're going to start working on radiator, condenser, fan, and fuel system. I don't know, I got to get the fuel tank out of this thing and see what the top of it looks like. How I need to put an electric pump in it basically. So I got some ideas, but until I get the tank out and see that, obviously the fuel lines need to come out. That's all going to get changed, but we'll start on that next week, and then we'll just keep knocking things off one at a time until this thing's ready to roll. I got a little less than 12 weeks right now to get this thing done. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.